I still remember the exact moment my heart shattered for what I thought would be the last time. It was a warm Sunday evening in early autumn. The kind of evening where the light turns golden and everything feels like it should be filled with love. I stood at the front door of the house I grew up in, holding a bouquet of my mother's favorite lily and a bottle of the wine my father used to drink on special occasions. My hands were trembling, not from cold, but from hope. After years of distance, I had finally worked up the courage to show up unannounced and ask to be part of the family again. I knocked softly. The door opened, and there was my younger sister, Emily. Her smile faded the second she saw me. "Oh, it's you," she said, voice flat. "Mom and Dad are in the middle of dinner." Before I could even respond, I heard my mother's voice from the dining room. "Who is it, honey?" Emily glanced back. "It's Sarah." There was a long silence. Then my father's voice, cold and final. "Tell her we're having family dinner. She can come back another time." Or not. The words hit me like ice water. Family dinner. As if I wasn't family anymore. I swallowed the lump in my throat and forced a smile. "It's okay, Em. I understand. Tell them. Tell them I love them." I turned around and walked back to my car with the flowers and wine still in my hands. That night, sitting alone in my small apartment, I cried until there were no tears left. I whispered to the empty room, "What did I ever do to deserve this? Let me take you back so you can truly understand how we got here." My name is Sarah Thompson. I'm 34 years old now. But the little girl inside me still remembers when this house was my entire world. I grew up in a beautiful 2-story home in a quiet suburban neighborhood. My parents, Richard and Margaret Thompson, were the kind of couple everyone admired from the outside. Dad was a respected accountant. Mom was the perfect homemaker who hosted book clubs and charity events. On paper, we were the ideal family. But behind closed doors, things were different. I was the oldest daughter, the responsible one, the one who was expected to be perfect. My sister Emily came 5 years later, and from the moment she was born, everything shifted. She was the golden child, the charming one, the one who could do no wrong. While I was praised for good grades, Emily was celebrated just for existing. I learned early on that love in our family had conditions. Still, I loved them fiercely. I went to college nearby so I could stay close. I studied business and finance, working part-time jobs while maintaining straight A's. My parents barely acknowledged my achievements. "That's nice, Sarah," was the usual response. After graduation, I landed a solid corporate job. I worked hard, saved every penny, and dreamed of one day buying a home close to them so we could have real Sunday dinners together. But life had other plans. At 26, I met David. He was charming, ambitious, and said all the right things. My parents adored him instantly. "Finally, someone who can take care of you," Dad said. We got married quickly. For 3 years, I thought I had everything I ever wanted, until the day I discovered he was having an affair with my best friend. The betrayal broke something deep inside me. I left him with almost nothing, just my dignity and the small savings I had hidden. My parents' reaction. They blamed me. "You probably didn't make him feel appreciated," Mom said on the phone. "Men like David need attention. You were always so focused on your career." That was the first major crack. I moved to a tiny apartment across town and threw myself into work. Late nights, early mornings, side hustles. I discovered a talent for real estate investment. What started as buying a small fixer-upper turned into flipping properties, then larger deals. I was good at it. Really good. But I kept my success quiet. I wanted to surprise my family when the time was right. Years passed. I rebuilt my life piece by piece. I made new friends, traveled when I could, and slowly started to heal. But every holiday, every birthday, the ache returned. I missed them. I missed the idea of family. So that Sunday, after months of therapy and building courage, I decided to try again. I was wrong. The rejection at the door wasn't new, but it cut deeper than ever. That night, as I sat crying in my car, something inside me shifted. The pain didn't disappear, but it transformed into a quiet, burning resolve. I whispered to myself, one day, they're going to see me. Really see me. Little did I know, that day was coming sooner than I thought. Over the next few weeks, I kept replaying that moment at the door. The casual cruelty in my father's voice. The way my sister didn't even try to defend me. The silence from my mother. It haunted me. I threw myself deeper into my work. I had been negotiating a major deal for months, a beautiful waterfront estate that had been in foreclosure. The property was stunning. 6 bedrooms, a private dock, manicured grounds, worth well over $5 million in today's market. Through smart financing and partnerships I had built over the years, I managed to secure it. The closing date was set. I didn't tell a soul. Meanwhile, my family continued their lives as if I barely existed. I heard through distant relatives that they were planning a big 40th wedding anniversary celebration for my parents. Of course, I wasn't invited. The exclusion burned, but this time I didn't cry. I made a decision. I would show up anyway. Not as the broken daughter begging for scraps of love, but as the woman I had become. The weeks leading up to their anniversary were a whirlwind. I finalized the paperwork on the property. When the deed arrived in my hands, I stared at it for a long time. My name, my address, my $5 million future. I remember running my fingers over the official seal and smiling through tears. This is for every time they made me feel small. I bought a simple but elegant dress. I got my hair done. And on the evening of their anniversary party, I drove to the venue, an upscale banquet hall they had rented for over 200 guests. My heart was pounding as I walked through the doors. The room was filled with laughter, clinking glasses, and familiar faces. The moment I stepped in, conversations slowed. Heads turned. My mother saw me first. Her face went pale. My father stood up from the head table, his expression hardening. Sarah, this is a private event. I walked straight toward them, clutching a large envelope in my hands. My voice was steady, though my knees felt weak. I know, but I thought family should be here for important moments. Emily looked uncomfortable. Some relatives whispered. The air grew thick with tension. Dad's voice rose slightly. We made it clear we wanted this to be for close family and friends. You've chosen your own path. That was the moment. I placed the envelope on the beautifully decorated table right in front of them. The $5 million deed, along with photos of the property and the keys. I came here tonight because I still love you. Despite everything. Despite being told I couldn't sit at the family table. Despite years of being made to feel like I don't belong, my mother's hands trembled as she opened the envelope. My father leaned over. The color drained from both their faces as they read the documents. The entire room fell into stunned silence. That's my new home, I said softly, my voice carrying across the quiet hall. Fully paid for, mine, after everything. I made it, without your approval, without your support. And I wanted you to see it. Tears welled up in my mother's eyes. My father stared at the papers, then at me, his mouth opening and closing without words. I looked at them both, my heart aching with a mixture of pain and triumph. You said no to me at the family table. But life said yes. What followed wasn't instant forgiveness or warm embraces. It was something far more complicated. My father's face turned red with a mixture of shock and something I couldn't quite name. Maybe shame, maybe anger. He stood up abruptly, nearly knocking over a wine glass. Sarah, this is ridiculous. You expect us to believe you bought a $5 million property on your own. The words stung even then. Even with the deed right in front of him, I kept my voice calm. I don't expect you to believe anything. Dad, I just wanted you to know the truth. My mother was still staring at the photos, the sweeping views of the water, the elegant interiors, the luxury that none of us had grown up with. Her lips trembled. How? How is this possible? I told them everything in front of their guests. Not to humiliate them, but because the truth had been buried for too long. I spoke about the divorce, the loneliness, The years of working weekends while they celebrated Emily's small achievements. The late night setting market trends. The risky investments that paid off. The partnerships I built on nothing but my reputation and determination. As I spoke, I watched their faces, the realization slowly sinking in. The daughter they had dismissed, the one they had quietly written off as too difficult or too independent, had quietly built an empire of her own. But instead of pride, I saw defensiveness. Later that evening, after most guests had left awkwardly, my parents asked me to stay behind. We sat in a private room. The conversation that followed broke what little remained of my illusions. You always had to show off, didn't you? My father said bitterly. Even tonight, at our anniversary, you had to make it about you. The words hit like a slap. After everything, that was their response. My mother tried to soften it. We're happy for you, Sarah. Really, it's just the timing. And you know we've always worried about you being so driven. As if ambition was a flaw when it came from me. That night, the full weight of years of betrayal crashed over me. It wasn't one single event. It was 1,000 small rejections, the forgotten birthdays, the subtle comparisons to Emily, the way they sided with my cheating ex-husband, the way they made me feel like I had to earn their love every single day. I drove home to my small apartment that night and sat on the floor, holding the spare set of keys to my new mansion. I cried for the girl who just wanted to sit at the table. But in those tears, something hardened. I decided I wouldn't chase their love anymore. Over the following months, the silence from my family was deafening. No calls, no texts, not even from Emily. It was as if my success made me even more of a threat to their narrative. I moved into the new house alone. Every room I decorated, every sunset I watched from the dock carried both joy and sorrow. I had achieved what many only dream of, yet the people I wanted to share it with most had turned their backs. There were moments of deep loneliness. Nights when I walked through the empty halls wondering if money could ever fill the hole they left. But with time, I began to fill it myself. I started hosting small dinners for my real friends, the ones who had stood by me. I volunteered with young women trying to build careers. I found purpose outside of their approval, yet the wound remained. One evening, about 4 months after the anniversary, my mother called. Her voice was hesitant. Sarah, your father isn't well. The doctor says it's his heart. He keeps talking about you. About that night, part of me wanted to rush over immediately. The daughter in me still longed to fix things. But the woman I had become knew better. I'll come, I said quietly. But on my terms this time. When I arrived at their house, the same house where I had been denied a seat at the table, the atmosphere was heavy. My father looked frail in his recliner. For the first time in years, I saw fear in his eyes. He tried to speak, but I stopped him gently. I'm not here to argue or prove anything anymore. I told them, I'm here because you're my parents. But I need you to understand something. I looked them both in the eyes. Every time you excluded me, every time you chose comfort over fairness, you taught me that I had to become enough for myself. And I did. My mother cried. My father reached for my hand with trembling fingers. That conversation was long and painful. Layers of resentment, misunderstandings, and old hurts came to the surface. They admitted some things, defended others, but for the first time, they truly listened. Still, trust doesn't rebuild overnight. I left that evening with a heavy but clearer heart. True justice, I've learned, isn't loud or cruel. It's quiet. It's becoming the person they never believed you could be. 6 months after that visit, I invited my family to my new home for the first time, not as a flex, not to rub their faces in my success, but to offer them a seat at my table. The irony wasn't lost on me. My mother arrived with a homemade pie, her hands shaking as she handed it to me. My father walked slowly, supported by Emily. When they stepped inside and saw the breathtaking view, the elegant furnishings, and the life I had built, the emotions were overwhelming. We sat down together at the long dining table overlooking the water. For the first time in years, I sat at the head of my own table. My father looked at me with tears in his eyes. We were wrong, Sarah. We were so wrong. My mother nodded. Unable to speak, I didn't gloat. I simply said, I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. That dinner wasn't perfect. Old tensions still lingered. But it was a beginning. In the months that followed, my relationship with my family slowly, carefully mended. Not to what it was, that version was gone forever, but into something healthier, more honest. My father's health improved. He started asking about my business, genuinely interested. My mother began visiting more often, helping me plant a garden. Emily and I had honest conversations about the favoritism that had poisoned our bond. The $5 million deed didn't just buy me a house. It bought me freedom. Freedom from needing their validation. Freedom to choose who sits at my table. Today, when I look back, I don't see a story of perfect revenge. I see a story of transformation. To anyone watching who feels rejected, unseen, or unworthy, hear this. Sometimes the people who are supposed to love you the most will hurt you the deepest. They will close doors in your face. They will make you feel small. But their rejection is not your worth. Don't use that pain. Let it fuel you. Build your own table. Become so strong, so successful, so full of light that when they finally see you, they are the ones left speechless. My parents said no to me at their family table, but I built one worth sitting at. And in the end, the greatest revenge wasn't making them feel small. It was becoming someone they could never diminish again. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever been the outcast, the forgotten one, the daughter or son who had to rise alone, drop a comment below. Your story matters. You matter. Until next time, remember, the best revenge is the life you build when they thought you'd fall. This is Sarah, signing off with a full heart.